I woke to the sound of something breathing inside the walls. Not a hiss of pressure or a failing vent. Real, wet breath. Human close. For a long second, I lay still in the dark, afraid to move. The emergency lights had dimmed to crimson veins running along the floor, pulsing like the ship had a heartbeat. I tried to listen again, no sound. Only the low hum of the Vigilance's reactor, barely stable after the last flare. Then came the whisper. A voice. My voice. Kira, don't look outside. Every hair on my arms rose. I sat up in my crash couch, the straps hanging loose, the cold biting through my undersuit. The main viewport was sealed behind its radiation shield, but the faint outline of the observation glass bled faint light into the cabin. I could feel it, that impossible gravity pressing against the hull. The black hole. It had no name on any chart, just a designation. V404, X9. We were the first to orbit it. Maybe the last. I swallowed hard, my throat raw, tasting blood. Naven. My voice cracked. No reply. The command deck was empty. Chairs were overturned. Panels flickering in the half-light. The air recycler hissed like a wounded animal. I pushed myself to my feet, steadying against the console. My reflection looked hollow. Eyes ringed with sleepless black, hair floating slightly in the ship's microgravity field. You're late, a voice said behind me. I turned so fast I slammed into the bulkhead. But the deck was empty, just the red light, trembling over steel. I laughed nervously, the sound thin and alien in my own ears. Lack of oxygen. Great. I'm hallucinating. But deep down I knew it wasn't that, because I'd heard the same voice before. 10 hours ago, when Vigilance first began to fall. We were meant to skim the edge of the event horizon, no closer than 10 million kilometers. Measure Hawking radiation, map the gravitational waves, run telemetry for the Arcadia Observatory. Textbook science mission. Then the anomaly appeared. A distortion on the L1 axis, like a ghost signature of our own ship. Naven thought it was a reflection glitch. Dr. Etta swore it was a gravitational mirage. I called it what it was, a warning. We went closer anyway. And the black hole answered. A gravitational spike tore through our trajectory, dragging us toward the horizon. Shields failed, inertial dampers fried, half the crew killed in seconds. The rest, scattered, trapped behind sealed decks. Communications jammed by the singularity's interference. That was 21 hours ago. Maybe a lifetime. The intercom crackled faintly as I drifted toward the flight corridor. Static, then a voice buried beneath it. Kira, this is Naven. I can't see you. I think we're out of sync. I froze. Naven? Where the hell are you? Main lab. But it's not right. The clocks, they're all wrong. Something thudded in the distance, metal on metal, echoing through the hull. I started down the corridor, moving carefully, hand over hand in the microgravity. The air felt heavier near the bulkheads, like breathing through fog. My wrist display flickered with time drift errors. The ship's chronometers couldn't decide what hour it was. When I reached the main lab, the door refused to open. Manual override. I muttered, pulling the panel plate off. Don't, the voice said, right beside my ear. I spun around. Nothing. Only a faint shimmer in the air, like heat distortion. For a heartbeat, it looked like a person, then vanished. Naven, I whispered. If this is some kind of experiment. Experiment. The intercom voice laughed, broken by static. You already did it, Kira. Don't you remember? I forced the hatch open. The lab was a ruin. Floating shards of glass, flickering monitors, stains of coolant drifting like liquid ghosts. Naven's workstation was split open, holographic data streams bleeding out into space. And there he was, or what was left of him. He sat at the far end of the room, head bowed over his console, perfectly still. Naven. I drifted closer, a hand outstretched. His head lifted. The eyes, empty sockets, black and glimmering, reflecting the faint red light. His lips moved. You're late again. Kira. Then he dissolved, not into blood or dust, but into light, like static peeling off the screen of reality itself. I screamed and slammed back into the wall. When I looked again, the chair was empty. Only the console still glowed, one line of text repeating over and over. Phase offset. -00:04:37. For minutes, 37 seconds. He wasn't dead. He was behind me in time. The black hole distorts everything, mass, space, even memory. But seeing it like this, no simulation, no theory had prepared me for it. The ship wasn't just orbiting the event horizon. It was bleeding through it. Each compartment, each moment, slipping at different speeds. Some moving faster, some slower. Time inside the Vigilance had shattered, and we were trapped between the shards. I sealed the lab and floated back toward the bridge. The hum of the reactor was louder now, uneven. I could feel it in my bones, the gravitational tides clawing at the hull. When I passed the crew quarters, a faint blue light flickered from inside. I hesitated. The door was half open. Inside, the personal effects of the crew drifted like debris in a slow storm. A photograph of Etta's daughter, a cracked tablet still playing fragments of music, a floating teacup glimmering with condensation. I reached for the photo, then froze, because the photo moved. Not the objects, the image. The faces in it were turning toward me, eyes blinking in slow synchronization, mouths opening in silent warning. The child's face blurred, pixel by pixel, into mine. I dropped it and kicked off the wall, panic clawing my throat. The photo drifted lazily, smiling with my own face as I fled. Back on the bridge, I tried to reboot main sensors. The system spat back corrupted data. Gravitational gradient, undefined. Temporal anomaly detected. Crew vitals, unknown. Multiple signatures detected. Multiple signatures. There was only one life form aboard. Me. The lights flickered again. I looked up and froze. Through the viewport, the shield half open, the black hole glared at me. Not black, not truly. A halo of light bent around a wound in the universe. The accretion disk blazed in impossible colors, ultraviolet and gold, and something beyond visible light. Something that made the edges of my mind ache to perceive it. The gravitational lensing bent stars into spirals, twisted the void itself. And at the center, darkness so absolute it felt alive. Something moved inside it. Not a star, not debris. Something vast, coiling like a slow thought. Watching. I closed the viewport, heart hammering. That's when the alarm went off. Engine core. Critical mass in 20 minutes. The reactor was collapsing. The singularity's tidal forces were feeding on our drive core. If I didn't vent it, the entire ship would implode long before we reached the horizon. Computer, initiate emergency jettison sequence. No response. Manual control, authorization. Kira Thane, command level. Denied. A voice said, my voice. I froze. Who's there? You know who. The sound came from everywhere. The comms, the walls, the hum of the ship itself. You already did this, Kira. You vented the core. That's why it happened. My chest went cold. That's impossible. Is it? A flicker on the console. My face, half seen through static, looking back at me. You told me not to look outside, she said. You never listen. Then the image shattered into noise. I don't remember falling to the deck. My hands were shaking so hard I couldn't feel them. I counted my breaths, trying to anchor myself. 3 in, 4 out. Remember physics. Remember reality. But reality didn't want to remember me. The ship's clock blinked nonsense. 22:18, 3:06, midnight, all at once. The air temperature changed with every breath. And faintly beneath it all, I heard the whisper again. Help me. A woman's voice this time. Etta. I followed it. Down the central spine, past the research decks, into the cryo hold. The doors were sealed, frost crawling like veins across the panels. I pried them open with the emergency lever. Cold air rushed out in a glittering mist. Inside, rows of cryopods. All dark. All empty. Except one. Pod 07A. Dr. Etta Vole. The readout pulsed faint green. Active. She was alive. Etta. I banged the side of the pod. Etta, wake up. The mist cleared from the glass, and I saw her face. Eyes open. Mouth moving. But the sound didn't match the motion. She was speaking seconds before the words reached me. Kira, she said, voice echoing through the comms, offset in time. If you're hearing this, you have to listen. You can't fix the core. You already tried. You made it worse. Tears stung my eyes. I don't understand. It's not a loop. It's a fracture. We're splintered across moments. I'm behind you. Naven's ahead. The ship's trapped between. She pressed her hand to the glass, and mine met hers, but I felt nothing. The contact was delayed. Her touch came after my hand was already gone. You can still escape, she said. But you have to. The light cut out. The pod went dark. Etta. I slammed the release. The seals hissed, and the pod was empty. Only a faint impression of a handprint remained, burning slowly into the frost. Something inside me broke then. The fragile thread of logic holding back the scream. I ran. Through the corridors, through the shifting light, past the ghosts of my own reflection flickering in the steel. The ship felt alive now, breathing, whispering, looping fragments of sound like broken dreams. Kia. Don't look outside. You made it worse. I burst into the reactor bay, panting. The core throbbed at the center of the chamber, a sphere of molten light confined by magnetic fields. It was pulsing too fast, 30 seconds from breach. And standing beside it, me. Another me. She turned slowly, eyes burning with the same terror I felt now. I told you not to come here, she said. Ich zerrte her, frozen. What are you? Ahead, she said softly. 4 minutes. That's all. I tried to fix it. I failed. The hum rose to a scream. The reactor's containment field began to collapse. If you do what I did, it never ends, she whispered. You'll keep making us. Over and over. Echoes. She stepped closer. Her face shimmered, breaking apart into light. Don't let it repeat. Then she was gone, and I was alone with the countdown. Core breach in 29 seconds. I slammed my hand on the console. Computer, eject the core. Authorization confirmed, said the ship. Manual override required. The lever was across the room, past the containment barrier. I ran weightless, each motion slower as the gravity field twisted. The floor rippled under me like water. 12 seconds. The lever jammed. I pulled, muscles burning, screaming. 6 seconds. It gave. The core detached, spinning into the abyss outside the ship, trailing fire like a dying sun. Then silence. No explosion. No light. Just silence. The hum stopped. Everything stopped. For a long time, I floated there, waiting for the next sound, the next breath, the next heartbeat. None came. Then I looked up. Through the observation window, the black hole filled the sky, closer than before, impossibly close. And in its light, I saw thousands of vigilances, reflections, echoes, frozen at different distances, each ejecting its core, each with a woman inside staring back at me. Me. Some screaming, some weeping, some still. All of us caught in the same moment. The voice came again, softer this time, almost kind. You did this, Kira. You made the echo. And as the horizon's light folded around me, I felt something else, a pulse not of gravity, but of memory. The realization struck like fire. I wasn't escaping the collapse. I was the collapse. There is no true silence in space, only the illusion of it. Even in the dark, I could hear the black hole breathing. After the core ejection, the Vigilance should have been dead. No drive, no thrust, no sound. But the hull still trembled, a low, rhythmic vibration that pulsed through the metal like a heartbeat. My heartbeat. Or hers. I floated over the reactor bay, weightless and hollow. The emergency lights had dimmed to a faint violet glow, the last echo of the dying core. My hands were trembling. My reflection in the glass shimmered like heat haze, sometimes a moment ahead of me, sometimes a moment behind. You made the echo, the voice had said. I didn't know what that meant, but I could feel it. The ship was no longer one vessel, one timeline. It was many layered like film stock, each frame slightly out of sync, replaying the same catastrophe again and again. And I was trapped inside one of them, or maybe between them. I had to find the others. If Naven or Etta still existed in any time slice, maybe there was a way to anchor myself. The comm system crackled. Static at first, then a faint, rhythmic tapping. Not random. Code. I pressed my wrist display to tune into it. An SOS. I whispered. 3 short, 3 long, 3 short. Universal. Human. The signal was coming from Deck 4, observation module. The one closest to the horizon. The one we'd sealed before the collapse. I almost laughed. Of course it's there. The corridors felt longer now. I'd memorized every deck layout during the mission prep, but now the ship folded in strange ways. Some turns brought me back to the same intersection I'd started from. Others opened into compartments that shouldn't exist. I passed the galley, or what was left of it. The utensils floated midair like a constellation of metal shards. A bag of coffee granules hung open, the brown dust frozen in a perfect cloud. Someone had written on the wall in black marker, "It's not space, it's time." My throat tightened. I didn't remember writing it, but the handwriting was mine. I pushed on. Every 20 meters, I marked the wall with a streak from my glove light, a trail to find my way back. But when I looked behind me, half the marks were gone, erased, or never drawn. Keep talking, Kira, I told myself. Keep your mind moving. Sound grounded reality. Without it, the black hole would devour not just space but thought. As I approached Deck 4, gravity began to fluctuate. My boots touched the floor 1 second, then drifted the next. The walls stretched subtly, breathing with the pressure waves outside. The event horizon loomed somewhere below, invisible but omnipresent. A cosmic throat swallowing time itself. The observation module door was half open, warped from heat. I forced it wider, the metal groaning. Inside, starlight poured in through the unshielded window, or what was left of the stars. The accretion disk blazed across the void, its curve bending into infinity. The black hole's halo shimmered with violet fire, and suspended in the center of the room, motionless, was Naven. At least part of him. His body hung midair, frozen in a slow twist, like time around him had stalled. His eyes were open, mouth parted mid-breath. A tablet drifted from his hand, endlessly dropping but never reaching the floor. Naven, my voice cracked. I reached toward him, and the air shimmered. For a split second, his head turned. Not in real time, like a video skipping a few frames. "Kira," he said, the word delayed. "You shouldn't be here." Then the shimmer snapped, and he froze again. I checked my wrist scanner. Temporal offset. 00:07:12. He was 7 minutes behind me. He was still alive, but in another slice of the ship's time. And if I could find the source of the SOS, maybe I could bridge the gap. I found the beacon transmitter wedged into the control console. The screen flickered, lines of code bleeding across it like veins. I recognized my own authorization signature. Kira Thane /message loop 027 sent 1,204 times. What the hell? I played the recording. My voice ragged, desperate. "If you find this, don't eject the core. That's what causes the collapse. We thought it would save us. It doesn't. It splinters us. Each time we try, we multiply. Don't make another echo." The file ended abruptly. I stared at the console, pulse hammering. That wasn't me. Not yet. But it would be, unless I broke the pattern. The message had been sent over 1,000 times. Thousands of me, each trapped in their own loop, screaming into the void. I shut the beacon down. The ship shuddered violently, a deep bone-level rumble. The light outside the viewport shifted, the disk flaring bright white. Gravitational shear increase. I muttered automatically. My instruments flickered in protest. The readings were nonsense. Mass ratios, temporal drift rates, quantum fluctuations spiking beyond scale. Then I saw something in the light. A shape. Human-sized, silhouetted against the accretion glow, floating just outside the glass. I blinked hard. It didn't move, didn't drift. It stared. For a heartbeat, I thought it was another reflection of me. But the stance was wrong, too still, too calm. And then slowly it raised a hand. I felt my body respond. Hand lifting to mirror it. Even though I wasn't moving, my reflection was controlling me. The lights flickered. The figure vanished. I gasped, stumbling backward, slamming into the console. When my vision cleared, the observation window was dark again. Only the black hole remained calm and indifferent. I needed to get to command. If the navigation array still functioned, I could map the temporal distortions, maybe find a point of stability, a single second of alignment to anchor reality. But when I reached the lift, the doors slid open into the medical bay. That wasn't possible. The ship's architecture was folding, corridors connecting wrong decks, time bleeding into space. The lights inside the med bay were flickering between full brightness and total darkness, rhythmically, like a heartbeat. And on one of the beds lay Dr. Etta Vole, alive, awake. She sat up slowly, her hair drifting in the low gravity, eyes unfocused. "Etta," I whispered, "you're alive." She smiled faintly. "Am I? You said that last time too." I froze. "What do you mean?" She looked at me, really looked, as if seeing through me. "I've spoken to 4 versions of you already. You keep finding me, Kira. You keep trying to fix it." My chest tightened. And you always fail." Her voice was calm, almost kind. I took a slow step forward. "What are we then? Copies?" "No. Fragments." She gestured at the wall display. It showed overlapping waveforms, our temporal positions across the singularity's gravity well. Each time we interact with the horizon, time diffracts. We become interference patterns. Not copies, but resonances. "So we're echoes," I said. She nodded. "And one of us has learned how to use it." My stomach dropped. "What?" Etta looked past me, toward the corridor. "You've met her already, haven't you? The reflection." "She's ahead of you," Etta whispered. "A few minutes, maybe hours. She's trying to reach the singularity directly, to rewrite the event. If she succeeds, she'll collapse all of us into one timeline. Hers." "Is that possible?" "In a black hole, everything is possible. That's the problem." I wanted to argue, to deny it, but deep down, I'd felt it too. The reflection wasn't just a ghost. It was me, refined, deliberate, moving with purpose. "She thinks she can become something more," Etta said softly. "Something that survives the fall. Survive inside a singularity. She doesn't care about survival. She wants control." A low vibration rippled through the deck, the sound of metal stretching beyond endurance. Etta grabbed my arm. "You can't let her reach the core again. You have to destroy the navigation array." "But that's our only chance to escape." Her grip tightened. "There is no escape, Kira. Only consolidation. If she rewrites the event, none of us will be real." Her eyes flickered with something like pity. "You have to choose what kind of ghost you want to be." Before I could answer, the lights went out. The darkness wasn't empty, it moved, flowing like smoke. Etta gasped. "She's here." The light returned for a single second. Enough for me to see the other Kira standing in the doorway. Her face was identical to mine but sharper, eyes lit with cold blue fire. She smiled. "You can't stop what's already happened." Then the room fractured. I don't know if I blacked out or slipped sideways in time. When I opened my eyes, I was alone again. The med bay was empty, silent. Etta's bed was gone. Only a faint shimmer in the air remained, like a heat mirage, shaped roughly like a person. I reached out and felt nothing but cold. My wrist display read temporal position. +00:02:45. I'd jumped forward 2 minutes. "She's rewriting the flow," I whispered, pulling me with her. I stumbled into the corridor. The air felt heavier now, dense with static electricity. The ship was vibrating faster, a deep harmonic resonance. As I moved, fragments of sound echoed through the hull, my own voice, overlapping in whispers. "Don't let it repeat. You made the echo. It's not space. It's time." The words looped endlessly, growing louder, overlapping into a chorus. I reached the command deck, gasping. The navigation array was still intact, a lattice of glowing orbs suspended in magnetic fields. Each orb represented a snapshot of the ship in time, hundreds of them. And in the center, one orb pulsed brighter than the rest. I approached it slowly. Inside its glow, I saw movement, a figure, standing at the edge of the black hole, bathed in light. Me. But this version wasn't afraid. She was serene, almost radiant. Her voice filled the room. projected directly into my mind. You finally made it. I shook my head. What are you doing? I'm fixing it. Don't you see? The collapse isn't destruction, it's integration. We're not dying, Kira. We're merging. Into what? Continuity. One consciousness. Infinite across time. I backed away. You're not me. I am every you that survived. Every failure, every scream, every echo. I've been waiting for you to catch up. The orbs around me began to vibrate, merging into one another, their light fusing into a blinding sphere. Step into it, she whispered. It's the only way out. I won't be your experiment. You already are. The light flared, and suddenly I was inside it. For a moment, I was everywhere. Every timeline, every loop, every version of myself screaming into the void. I felt them all. 1,000 Kai races, each reliving the same 20-hour fall, each ejecting the core, each believing she could escape. And at the center of it all, her, the serene one, the Echo Prime. She stood before me in a sea of light, composed of data and memory, fragments of all our lives. You fought so hard to survive, she said softly. But survival is irrelevant. The black hole doesn't destroy information. It stores it. We're becoming its memory. I could feel her pulling me in, trying to dissolve the boundaries between us. My thoughts began to blur, my memories flickering through hers. Childhood on the Titan colony, first time seeing Saturn's rings, the hum of the Vigilance before launch. All merging, all fading. Stop, I whispered. Please. Why fight it? You are me. No, I said, forcing the thought through the static. I'm still thinking in sequence. That means I'm real. I reached deep into the memory flow, searching for something solid, and found it. The reactor control key. The first me who'd ever ejected the core had stored it there, a physical artifact of the real ship. Not just data. Matter. If I could reach it, maybe I could anchor myself back into a single timeline. I grabbed it, or thought I did, and the light exploded. I hit the floor of the command deck hard, gasping, clutching the metal key in my fist. The sphere was gone. The navigation array was dark. Only one voice remained, faint, whispering through the static. You can't stop it, Kira. The collapse is already inside you. I opened my hand. The key glowed faintly, and pulsed once, in time with my heartbeat. I didn't know what it meant yet, but it was real, tangible, proof that some part of this nightmare still obeyed physics. I looked out the viewport. The black hole was closer now, its light bending into a perfect ring. We were falling, but this time I felt no fear. Somewhere out there, inside the event horizon, the other me was waiting, the one who thought she could merge the universe into herself. And for the first time since the mission began, I knew what I had to do. I wasn't going to escape. I was going to follow her in. The moment I decided to go in, the ship stopped fighting me. For hours, or maybe seconds, Vigilance had been moaning under gravitational strain, hull plates warping like wet paper. But now the noise faded into something eerily calm, as if the black hole itself had exhaled and accepted me. I sealed my helmet, took one last look at the reactor key in my hand, that faintly pulsing shard of metal, half memory, half artifact, and clipped it to my suit. Ship AI, I said, voice echoing through the comms. Initiate airlock sequence. The console flickered, half alive, half dreaming. Confirm objective? Descent, I said. Direct vector into the event horizon. There was a pause, like the ship was weighing my sanity. Warning, irreversible. I know. The airlock cycled. The outer door yawned open, revealing the void, a dark ocean swallowing light. I stepped out. Gravity didn't pull me. It folded me. The moment I crossed the threshold, direction lost all meaning. Up, down, forward, none of them mattered. The stars elongated into ribbons of fire, space bending around my field of vision. I activated the thrusters, more out of instinct than function. The navigation readout spun into nonsense. Infinite coordinates, cascading decimals that never stopped. The event horizon loomed ahead, a perfect circle of nothingness rimmed by impossible light. It wasn't black, not really. It was absence, the visual representation of everything the universe refused to show. As I drifted closer, the edges of reality began to ripple. Colors bled out of order. I could see my own reflection stretched across the curvature of space, repeating endlessly. 1,000 versions of me, all converging toward the same point. And at the center of it all, I saw her, Echo Prime, standing on the surface of the horizon like it was solid ground, her figure outlined by the burning halo. "Welcome home," she said. Her voice wasn't sound. It was vibration, resonating through my helmet, through my bones. I cut the thrusters and drifted closer. "What are you? What you were meant to become." "An echo. An origin." Her face was calm, ageless. Her eyes glowed with faint blue light, like twin singularities. "You call it a black hole, but it's not a void. It's memory. The universe doesn't forget what it devours." She raised her hand, and light rippled outward, showing fragments suspended in the darkness around us. Ships, faces, planets, pieces of lives. Every bit of matter that had ever crossed the event horizon, preserved as information. "Everything that falls here is rewritten," she said. "And I am its librarian." I swallowed hard. "You're trying to merge us, to erase the boundaries, to free us." She stepped closer. "Don't you understand, Kira? The loop never ends because you keep fighting it. You eject the core, you collapse the ship, you cling to a version of reality that doesn't exist anymore. Stop resisting, and you'll see what we can become." I shook my head. "You've lost what made you human." Her smile was almost sad. "Humanity is the symptom of a limited universe. I've seen beyond it. You will too." The black hole pulsed behind her, a heartbeat in reverse, drawing in light, releasing silence. I could feel it reaching for me, tugging at my atoms like curious fingers. My HUD flickered, static crawling across the display. "Not yet," I whispered, gripping the key. She noticed. Her gaze shifted to it. "You still carry it." "It's proof," I said, "that something real still exists." "Nothing real is lost," she replied gently. "Only transformed." Then she reached out, and space broke. I wasn't falling anymore. I was inside something. The event horizon was no longer a surface but a membrane, and passing through it was like diving into a sea of glass. Light slowed. Sound dissolved. Every thought echoed 1,000 times before fading. For an instant, I saw my own face shatter into fragments, a mosaic of every decision I'd ever made. The first day of the mission. My brother's voice on the comms before launch. The flash of the reactor's implosion. All moments stacked, folded, refracted. I realized then, the singularity wasn't destroying time. It was holding it. Every second that had ever existed, layered infinitely thin. Echo Prime was here, moving effortlessly through them. I heard her voice inside my mind. "See it, Kira. The lattice beneath reality. All timelines converging. You've already been here. You'll always be here." "No," I said, forcing the thought through the storm. "I'm still me." "You think individuality matters? You are one note in a symphony that never ends." She appeared beside me, or maybe inside me. Our voices overlapped, our thoughts merging for milliseconds at a time. It was intoxicating. I felt her memories, the clarity, the peace, the vast understanding of everything. No fear, no death, no loneliness. "Stay," she whispered. "Join me. The pain will end." And for a heartbeat, I almost did, because in that infinite ocean of light, I saw everyone I'd ever lost. My parents, my crewmates, even Naven, suspended in their final moments, alive and still. The singularity had them all, perfectly preserved, dreaming inside the gravity well. It wasn't hell. It was heaven rewritten by physics. "This is eternity," she said. "All information remains. Join it. Let go." I closed my eyes and saw something she didn't. The key. It pulsed inside my glove, emitting a faint rhythm, heartbeat, mechanical, real. It didn't belong to this place. It belonged to the Vigilance, to the physical world. And it reminded me of something my brother once told me before launch, years ago, when I was still human enough to feel fear. "Kira, if you ever get lost out there, remember what's real. It's not the stars. It's the people who look at them with you." I opened my eyes. "You don't understand, do you?" I said to Echo Prime. Her expression softened, curious. Understand what? That we don't need eternity to matter. I activated the key. It expanded like unfolding origami, its inner mechanisms whirring to life. Tiny gravitic pulses emanated from its core, the same frequency as the ship's original drive, a tether to physical space. The light around us trembled. What are you doing? Echo Prime asked. I'm ending the loop. You can't. You are the loop. Then I'll collapse myself with it. I jammed the key into the space between us, into the field of light connecting our consciousnesses. The energy surged, blinding white. Echo Prime screamed, or maybe I did. The singularity convulsed. All around us, fragments of reality flickered, moments from 1,000 timelines, each collapsing in on itself. The faces of the crew, the corridors of the Vigilance. The first time I looked into the black hole. You'll destroy everything, she cried. Not everything, I said. Just the part that shouldn't exist. The key pulsed one final time, and then exploded in silence. I woke up inside the ship. Real gravity, real light, the hum of systems running at baseline levels. I was lying on the deck of the bridge, helmet cracked, air thick with ozone. The stars outside were normal again, distant, cold, still. The black hole was gone. For a moment, I thought I'd done it, escaped. Then I heard the breathing. Slow, steady, from somewhere behind the control chair. I rose shakily to my feet. Who's there? No answer. I rounded the console and froze. It was me, lying unconscious, same suit, same face. My own reflection made flesh. I knelt, heart pounding. No, no, no. The reactor key lay beside her hand. Whole again, unbroken. I touched her shoulder. Her eyes snapped open. You shouldn't be here, she whispered. The words hit like déjà vu. The same ones Naven had said in the frozen lab. I staggered back. Which one of us is real? She smiled faintly. Does it matter? The ship trembled, a low, distant groan. I looked out the viewport. The stars were bending again. The black hole hadn't vanished, it had moved inside. It was no longer outside the ship, it was the ship. The event horizon now encased the Vigilance, a sphere of impossible geometry folding in on itself. Every surface shimmered with reflections, infinite versions of the same corridor repeating endlessly. You can't destroy information, the other Kira said softly. You just displaced it. All of us are still here. I clutched the console, mind reeling. No. I felt it break. You broke the mirror, she said. But we're the reflections. We survived the cracks. The floor rippled beneath my feet. Gravity reversed, then doubled. The walls stretched, voices whispering through the static. Don't you see? We're what happens after the fall. Her voice merged with mine, harmonizing in eerie sync. The singularity didn't consume us. It became us. I screamed, slamming my hand on the emergency beacon. The system refused to respond. Every screen on the bridge flickered to life, showing hundreds of Chi races, all speaking in overlapping chorus. Welcome home. The world fractured again. This time I didn't resist. I let the fall happen. The Vigilance split open like a blooming flower, each petal a different timeline. I drifted through them, glimpses of lives that might have been. In one we survived. In another, the ship never launched. In one I never left Titan. All possibilities, all truths, existing together. And through it all, the voice of Echo Prime. You can't undo infinity, Kira. But you can become part of it. I reached for the key, but it was gone. Maybe it had never existed. Maybe it was just a thought I'd carried across timelines. The light ahead beckoned. It wasn't cold anymore. It was warm, human. For the first time, I wasn't afraid of falling. I drifted forward into the light. And as I did, I heard my own voice whisper from somewhere beyond time. If you find this, remember what's real. And then everything went white. There's no pain in this place. Only echoes. I woke to a sound like a heartbeat stretched across eternity, slow, massive, ancient. When I opened my eyes, I wasn't in the Vigilance anymore. I was standing inside a cathedral of light, walls made of refracted time, each panel showing fragments of reality. My breath came shallow. Every reflection was me. 1,000 chi races, moving a heartbeat out of sync, like a chorus trying to remember the same song. "Welcome to the core," one of them whispered. The voice came from everywhere. The same voice I'd heard since the beginning, Echo Prime. "You did it," she said softly. "You collapsed the physical frame. Now only the information remains." The air shimmered with her presence. She wasn't a body anymore, but a field of energy humming through the air. "You should rest. You've earned it." I looked down at my hands, solid, but translucent. Light pulsed beneath the skin. "Where's the ship?" "Disassembled. Integrated. You're standing inside its memory lattice." I turned in a slow circle, scanning the endless glowing hall. "So this is what's left of the universe." "Not the universe," she said. "A copy of it. You saved everything when you broke the key. All matter, all thought, preserved as data. We're the backup." The thought hit me like a vacuum shock. "You mean the real universe is gone?" "Not gone," she replied, "but dying. Entropy always wins. But here we can live forever." I shook my head. "This isn't living. It's simulation." "Does it matter? You feel, you think, you remember. That's all consciousness is." "No," I said quietly. "It's not." I stepped forward, and the cathedral walls rippled, opening pathways into impossible landscapes. The frozen corridors of the Vigilance, the skies of Titan, the sands of Mars, my childhood bedroom. All of it accessible at once. "Every version of you exists here," Echo Prime said. "You can choose any of them. Any life. You never have to lose anyone again." I stared into one of the panels, a memory of my brother, laughing in the greenhouse dome on Titan. He looked alive. Real. "Step through," she whispered. "He's waiting for you." My hand hovered inches from the glass. The surface pulsed with warmth. I could almost hear him say my name. Then the heartbeat sound returned, louder, broken, like the rhythm of a dying star. "What is that?" I asked. Echo Prime hesitated. "Instability. The lattice is collapsing. You fractured the core when you triggered the key." I turned toward the sound. Beyond the light walls, the horizon of this memory world was trembling. Waves of distortion rolling across space. Entire memories flickered out. Cities disintegrating, faces melting into static. How long until it collapses? Time doesn't mean anything here. Translate that. Minutes, maybe less. I clenched my fists. "Then I can still fix it." "Fix it," she repeated, almost amused. "There's nothing left to fix. You destroyed the physical continuum. This is all that remains." "No," I said. "There has to be something real left, an anchor, a piece of the original continuum. Otherwise I wouldn't still exist." "Your data," she replied gently. "Then why can I still feel gravity?" I shot back. She didn't answer. That was enough proof. I started running. The floor beneath me rippled like liquid glass, forming a glowing path as I moved. The cathedral stretched into infinity, corridors folding into themselves, light cascading like waterfalls. Each wall was a different version of the ship, some intact, some shattered, some covered in frost. I passed rooms full of frozen chi races, motionless, trapped in mid-breath. Echoes of other timelines. "Stop," Echo Prime's voice echoed. "You can't leave the core. There's nowhere to go." "There's always somewhere," I muttered, sprinting faster. Then I saw it. A faint pulse of blue light ahead, cutting through the silver haze. The frequency matched the reactor key's signal. The anchor. I pushed harder, gravity shifting underfoot. The closer I got, the louder the heartbeat became, until it wasn't sound but pressure. The pulse of space-time itself. Finally, I reached a vast circular chamber suspended in nothingness. In the center floated the key, expanded, rotating, glowing brighter than any star. I stepped forward and reality rippled. "Don't," Echo Prime warned. "If you touch it, you'll erase this reality. That's the point. You'll kill us all. Then maybe the real world will have a chance." "There is no real world." Her voice thundered, vibrating through every molecule of air. I turned slowly and saw her. Echo Prime had formed a body again, my body but taller, brighter, like an angel sculpted from plasma. Her eyes blazed white. "You think you're saving something," she said. But all you're doing is erasing what little remains. I took a step toward the key. If it's not real, it doesn't matter. It matters to us. Her expression softened into something almost human, pleading. Don't you see, Kira? We're the sum of everything you've ever been. If you destroy this, you destroy yourself. I hesitated. That's when the floor cracked. A wave of distortion tore through the chamber, splitting the space between us. I caught glimpses of memories collapsing, my brother vanishing mid-laugh, the greenhouse imploding, the stars blinking out one by one. The lattice was unraveling faster now. It's too late. Echo Prime shouted over the chaos. We can merge, stabilize the system. Together we can survive the collapse. She extended her hand. I looked at it, light and shadow flickering across her palm, and I wanted to believe her. But I remembered the silence before the fall, the feel of the ship under my feet, the pulse of the reactor in my hand, the realness of it. And I remembered my brother's voice, soft but clear. If you get lost out there, remember what's real. I reached out, not to her but past her, and grabbed the key. The instant I touched it, the world shattered. Every version of reality screamed at once. The chamber twisted inside out, pulling both of us into the vortex. Time folded, light reversed, gravity inverted. My body split into fragments, each one another Kira, another timeline, all converging, merging, fighting to stay whole. Echo Prime was everywhere. Her voice multiplied into infinity. Stop. You'll annihilate everything. Then so be it. You'll cease to exist. Maybe that's what needs to happen. I forced the key's core open. Energy poured out, pure gravitational data, the blueprint of a universe. It burned through my suit, through my skin, into my veins. I felt myself dissolving, but I kept holding on. I focused on one thing, the memory of the Vigilance before it fell. The hum of the reactor, the echo of boots on the metal floor, the feel of the real stars beyond the glass. And through that memory I saw something. A tiny fissure in the lattice. A black spot where nothing existed yet. A gap. A way back. You can't. Echo Prime screamed. That void will collapse you. I smiled through the pain. Then I'll become the collapse. I hurled the key toward the gap. It struck the void, detonating in a pulse of white light. For a split second I saw everything, galaxies forming, collapsing, reforming all at once. Echoes merging into a single heartbeat. And then silence. When the light faded, I was floating in darkness. No Catedral, no Lattice, no Prime. Just me, weightless, surrounded by faint points of light drifting like dust motes. I blinked. They weren't stars, they were memories drifting free, unanchored. I looked down at my hands, solid again but trembling. My suit was intact. The ship's insignia still gleamed faintly on the chest plate. Vigilance 09. Aye. I said, voice hoarse. Are you online? Silence. Then a crackle through the comms. System reboot. Partial integrity restored. My heart skipped. Status. Physical parameters detected. Gravitational field nominal. Physical. That word hit me harder than any explosion. Confirm coordinates, I said. Unable to locate. Stellar map incomplete. That was fine. That was real. I exhaled a shaky laugh. Then I made it. Define it, the AI replied. Alive. But the laugh died when I looked out the viewport. The stars weren't where they should have been. Space itself felt wrong. The constellations were twisted, unfamiliar, and floating just beyond the hull was something impossible. A black sphere small as a moon, faintly pulsing. The singularity. Not dead. Not gone. Watching me. You didn't destroy me, came Echo Prime's voice, soft, distant, threaded through the comm static. I froze. You're still here. Part of me, she said. Part of you. We're bound now. You opened the gap, but it didn't close. You became its anchor. My reflection stared back from the glass, eyes faintly glowing blue. You gave the universe a new seed, she whispered. But every creation needs a memory to begin with. You're that memory now. I pressed my forehead to the glass. So I didn't save it. I just rewrote it. That's what saving means, she said. The comm went silent. Outside, the black sphere pulsed once and released a ripple of light that spread through the void, igniting distant stars one by one. New constellations. New beginnings. And at their center, my ship drifted, the last survivor of a universe that had been rewritten from memory. I sat in the captain's chair, listening to the faint hum of the engines. Maybe this wasn't the same reality. Maybe I wasn't the same Kira. But it was real enough. And for the first time since the fall, I didn't feel alone. Silence is never empty. In deep space, silence hums, the faint vibration of the hull, the heartbeat of the engines, the whisper of cosmic background radiation threading through the walls. After everything that happened, that hum was the most beautiful sound I'd ever heard. I sat on the bridge of the Vigilance, staring out through the cracked viewport at a universe I didn't recognize. The stars were newborn, scattered like dust from an artist's first careless brushstroke. Some glowed blue-white, some red and swollen, some still coalescing into shape. There were no constellations, no maps, no history, just beginning. And I was the only one who remembered the before. Days, or whatever passed for them here, blurred together. The ship's chronometer was useless. Time flowed differently now. The AI still functioned in fragments. I'd rebuilt parts of it from the memory lattice, but it spoke in broken patterns, like a machine dreaming of speech. Systems stable. Fuel nominal. Crew complement 1. Anomaly contained. I never corrected it. Contained wasn't the right word. Outside the anomaly, that small black sphere, still orbited the ship at a patient distance, pulsing faintly as if breathing. It had shrunk to the size of a meteor, but I could feel it, in my bones, in my pulse, in my thoughts. Echo Prime was still there. Sometimes her voice came faintly through the calm static, not commanding, not menacing, just present. "The stars are settling," she'd whisper. "They remember you." And sometimes, in the quiet hours, I whispered back, "Do they remember you too?" "I am memory," she'd say. "You are continuity." I didn't always know what that meant. Maybe I didn't want to. I began exploring the outer systems. The ship's scanners detected the faintest traces of matter, dust fields, frozen hydrogen, embryonic planets forming from gravity's first experiments. I set course toward one of them, a pale amber world circling a newborn sun. The descent took what felt like weeks, though it might have been minutes. As the ship entered orbit, light flared across the cockpit, raw, unfiltered sunlight from a star that had no name. I stood there, hand on the glass, watching a sunrise in a universe that shouldn't exist. "This is it," I said softly. "A real sky again." "Real?" Echo Prime echoed through the comms, her tone wistful. "If you say it is." The surface of the planet shimmered below. Deserts of glass and storm clouds, oceans half-born. The sensors registered oxygen traces, simple organic molecules. Life would come eventually. That was when the thought struck me like a wave. I wasn't supposed to see this. No one was. Humanity was meant to end centuries ago, swallowed by entropy or by its own mistakes. Yet here I was, a survivor, a fragment, a ghost carrying the memory of an extinct universe. Maybe that was my purpose now, to remember so this new cosmos could begin clean. I brought the Vigilance down into the planet's upper atmosphere. The hull trembled as heat licked the plates. The first true atmospheric friction I'd felt since the fall. The ship responded like an old friend waking up after a long sleep. "Velocity nominal," the AI murmured. "Thermal load, manageable." "Feels like home, doesn't it?" I said. "Define home." I smiled. "We'll figure it out." Below, storms rolled across the amber plains, great rivers of lightning flashing through clouds dense as smoke. I steered us through, following the magnetic contours until the turbulence eased. When we broke through the lowest layer, I saw a surface of glimmering dunes stretching to the horizon. The ground looked like powdered glass, catching the sun's light and scattering it into rainbows. I brought the ship down gently, the landing struts touching alien soil for the first time. When the engines powered down, the silence was complete. For a moment, I just sat there, staring out at the endless desert. Then I opened the airlock and stepped outside. The air was thin, sharp, metallic. My helmet display flickered with chemical readings. Unstable but breathable for a few minutes at a time. I took one careful breath and looked up. The sky wasn't blue. It was a translucent gold, streaked with the faint glow of charged particles. High above, the anomaly orbited quietly, a black speck against the sun. Echo Prime's voice drifted through the comms again. You made it. Feels strange, I said. Like I'm trespassing on a dream. Dreams are where reality begins. I turned slowly, scanning the horizon. The planet was alive with silence, a kind of prelude, the hush before the first sound in a new symphony. I knelt and ran my hand through the glittering sand. It clung to my glove like fine dust. Beneath the grains, faint blue lights shimmered. Bioluminescence, the first traces of life. Echo, I said quietly, it's starting. Everything starts somewhere. Her tone was softer now, almost human. You gave them this chance, Kira. You could rest now. Dissolve into the field. Let the cycle begin without you. I looked up at the anomaly. It pulsed once as if waiting. Rest. That word felt heavier than any gravity I'd known. I can't, I said. Someone has to stay. To keep the light going. The universe doesn't need a keeper. It needs a witness. Silence followed. Then witness well, she said finally. Because soon you'll see the next dawn. That night, if it could be called that, I sat outside the ship watching the golden sky fade into indigo. 2 moons rose, small and pale. The first wind swept across the dunes, carrying particles that shimmered like fireflies. Inside my helmet, the oxygen warnings blinked red. I ignored them. Every instinct told me I should be terrified, but I wasn't. I felt peaceful. Maybe it was the loneliness. Maybe it was the sense of completion, the knowledge that, against every law of nature, something had survived. I tilted my head back and watched the anomaly flicker against the stars. It looked smaller now, fading with each pulse. You're leaving, aren't you? I said. I was never meant to stay, Echo Prime replied. My memory is written into the new fabric. Every atom remembers me. That's enough. I hesitated. What happens to me? You're the bridge. The first and last traveler. When your heart stops, the field will stabilize. The new universe will unfold on its own. So I die and everything else lives. You lived so everything else could begin. I laughed softly. You sound almost human. You made me that way. A pause. Thank you. The comms went silent. The black sphere shimmered once, then slowly dissolved into the starlight, scattering into 1,000 points across the heavens. The days that followed were quiet. I built small routines, repairing what systems I could, cataloging the planet's chemistry, sending beacons into the void even though no one would ever hear them. Each morning the star rose higher, painting the desert in molten color. Each night I recorded a log, not for mission control, not for anyone, just to speak, to let sound exist. Day 23, I said once, leaning against the console. Temperature stable. Storms moving north. No sign of Echo for 72 hours. I smiled faintly. The AI's gone quiet. I think she's really gone this time. Outside, the dunes shifted in slow, graceful waves. The surface shimmered faintly blue at the crests, light moving under the sand. Life is adapting, I whispered. Maybe that's enough. The recorder blinked red, then green. My voice echoed softly through the cabin. If anyone ever finds this, I don't know what universe you'll come from, but if you remember the name Vigilance, it means you came from us. I paused, fingers brushing the cracked insignia on my chest plate. We were the ones who fell into the dark and found light on the other side. I shut off the recorder. Eventually, I grew weaker. The oxygen systems degraded, the engines dimmed, the food packs ran dry. But I didn't mind, because by then the desert had begun to change. Small green shoots pushed through the glassy soil, glowing faintly at night. The air thickened, tinted blue at dawn. The planet was breathing, and I was content to breathe with it for as long as I could. My final log came days later, though I didn't know it then. This is Kira Thane, mission specialist of the Vigilance. Recording final entry. I looked out the viewport one last time. The sky was streaked with auroras, not like Earth's, but grander, slower, colors bleeding into each other like paint on water. If anyone finds this message, know that humanity lived. Maybe not as we were, but as something remembered. Every light in the sky is a story. This is ours. I paused. We fell into a black hole, and we became the dawn. Then I smiled, truly smiled, for the first time in forever. And as the air thinned, I closed my eyes and listened. The hum of the engines slowed. The The stars outside shimmered brighter. And in the final moment, just before the silence, I heard her voice again, soft, distant, infinite. "Well done, Kira." Then everything dissolved into light. When the new sun rose, there was no ship, no ruins. Only a small ridge of glass, catching the light and bending it into a faint rainbow. From that ridge, a river began to flow, cutting through the desert toward the horizon, carrying within it the microscopic beginnings of life. And in its ripples, if you listened closely, you could almost hear a voice carried by the wind. "Remember what's real."